Nobody knew Alex Freeman's name. That is not an exaggeration. It is not a dramatic device. In the hours before the United States faced Australia at Lumen Field in Seattle on Friday, June 19, 2026, the entire conversation surrounding the United States men's national team centered on one person and one person only: Christian Pulisic, and whether he would be fit enough to play. Christian Pulisic was not fit enough to play. And then Alex Freeman, a 21-year-old defender from Orlando, Florida, a player who had started just 19 senior international matches in his entire career, a player spending his club season as a substitute at Villarreal in La Liga, a player most casual American football fans could not have named 24 hours earlier, headed the United States into a 2-0 lead and sent Lumen Field in Seattle into absolute pandemonium. Alex Freeman just changed everything at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. To understand what Alex Freeman did at Lumen Field in Seattle on June 19, 2026, you first need to understand the pressure the United States men's national team was carrying into that match. The United States men's national team arrived at Lumen Field in Seattle on June 19, 2026 with one objective: win and clinch a place in the knockout rounds of the World Cup on home soil. A victory over Australia in Group D would guarantee the United States progression regardless of the result between Paraguay and Turkey later that evening. The entire American football public had circled June 19th on the calendar. Seattle's Lumen Field, known as one of the loudest stadiums in North American sport, was sold out and ready. And then 90 minutes before kickoff at Lumen Field in Seattle, Mauricio Pochettino delivered the news nobody wanted to hear. Mauricio Pochettino, the United States head coach, told Fox Sports in a pre-match interview at Lumen Field in Seattle that Christian Pulisic would not be available for the Australia match. The left calf injury Pulisic had sustained during training ahead of the Paraguay game, and re-aggravated during the first half of that match, had not cleared in time. Christian Pulisic, the United States captain, their all-time leading scorer, and the most important player in the entire American squad, would not be on the pitch. Ricardo Pepi would replace Christian Pulisic in the starting lineup at Lumen Field in Seattle. Alex Freeman would keep his starting position in the back line, and the United States would face the biggest match of their 2026 World Cup group stage campaign without their most dangerous attacking weapon. The match at Lumen Field in Seattle began exactly as Mauricio Pochettino's team had planned, despite the absence of Christian Pulisic. The United States pressed high from the first whistle, forced Australia into mistakes in deep positions, and created immediate danger down both flanks. Folarin Balogun, the Brooklyn-born, London-raised forward who had scored twice against Paraguay the previous week, was electric from the opening minutes, driving at the Australian defense with pace and power and winning every second ball. The opening goal at Lumen Field in Seattle arrived through sustained pressure and individual quality combined. Folarin Balogun drove forward down the left channel and delivered a dangerous low cross into the Australian penalty area. Australian defender Cameron Burgess, under pressure and unable to control the pace of the delivery, turned the ball into his own net. The 7th own goal of the entire 2026 World Cup tournament. Lumen Field in Seattle erupted. Australia responded at Lumen Field in Seattle. The Australian national team, known as the Socceroos, settled into the defensive shape head coach Tony Popovic had prepared, sitting deep and looking to absorb United States pressure before launching counterattacks. For a period in the middle of the first half, Australia created genuine moments and had chances to threaten the American goal, but the United States backline, with Alex Freeman operating at right back, held firm on every occasion. And then came the 43rd minute at Lumen Field in Seattle. Serginho Dest received the ball at the top of the Australian penalty area at Lumen Field in Seattle, cut inside from the right, and hit a shot toward goal. The shot was deflected high into the air by an Australian defender. The ball hung in the air for a fraction of a second, and Alex Freeman, who had read the deflection and positioned himself perfectly, launched into the air and headed the ball powerfully into the back of the net. Lumen Field in Seattle erupted for the second time, and then the linesman's flag went up at Lumen Field in Seattle. The linesman called Alex Freeman offside. Alex Freeman stood in the Australian penalty area at Lumen Field in Seattle, hands on his head, staring at the linesman. His teammates gathered around him. The VAR review began, and for several long seconds that must have felt much longer than they were, Alex Freeman and the entire United States team waited to find out whether the biggest goal of his career would stand. The VAR review confirmed at Lumen Field in Seattle that Alex Freeman had been level with the Australian backline at the exact moment Serginho Dest struck the shot. Not offside, onside, goal. The United States had their second goal at Lumen Field in Seattle. Alex Freeman had his first World Cup goal, and the question of how the Americans would cope without Christian Pulisic had received its first definitive answer. The United States answered that question completely fine. To understand what that moment at Lumen Field in Seattle meant for Alex Freeman, you need to understand where he came from and how quickly he arrived at this stage of the game. Alex Freeman was born on August 9, 2004, in Orlando, Florida. He is 21 years old and plays as a right back, a defender who contributes both to protecting his own goal and to launching attacks down the right flank. He is the son of Antonio Freeman, one of the most celebrated wide receivers in Green Bay Packers history, a Super Bowl XXCC champion, a Pro Bowl selection, and the NFL's leading receiver in 1998 with 1,424 receiving yards. Alex Freeman grew up surrounded by professional sport and elite athletic achievement. He understood from childhood what performing on the biggest stages under the brightest lights demanded. But he chose football over American football. He chose the pitch over the field. Alex Freeman developed through the youth academy at Orlando City SC, the Major League Soccer club based in his home city of Orlando. He made his senior debut for Orlando City SC at just 17 years old in 2022, one of the youngest players in the club's history to appear for the first team. He showed enough quality and athleticism in those early seasons to attract serious attention from European clubs, and in January 2026, Alex Freeman completed a $7 million transfer to Villarreal in La Liga, one of Spain's most established top-flight clubs, a team that had reached the Champions League semi-finals as recently as 2022. The move to Villarreal was significant on paper. In reality, Alex Freeman's first La Liga season was a humbling one. He made just 31 minutes of league football across the entire campaign at Villarreal. He was named as an unused substitute in multiple matches. He was a long way from being a regular starter at club level, a young player still finding his footing in one of Europe's most competitive leagues. And yet Mauricio Pochettino kept selecting Alex Freeman for the United States national team throughout that period. Because what Alex Freeman does for the United States is different from what he had been asked to do at Villarreal. The pace, the intensity, and the high-pressing system Pochettino runs with the national team suits Freeman's athleticism and intensity in a way that makes him far more influential for the United States than his limited club appearances suggest. Friday, June 19, 2026 was only Alex Freeman's 19th senior cap for the United States men's national team. Of those 19 appearances, he has played the full 90 minutes in 10, including both of the United States matches at the 2026 World Cup. He already has 3 international goals. He provided an assist in the 4-1 opening victory over Paraguay the previous week. And now, at Lumen Field in Seattle, he had headed his country into a 2-0 lead at a home World Cup, becoming the unlikely hero of the most important match the United States had played since their round of 16 exit at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Speaking to Fox Sports' Tom Rinaldi after the final whistle at Lumen Field in Seattle, Alex Freeman described the moment the VAR decision confirmed his goal had stood. "It was surreal, knowing that I was able to contribute to my team in any way I can," Freeman said. "Obviously at first it was disallowed, so I was kind of anxious when it went to VAR." He called scoring at the World Cup the fulfillment of a lifelong dream and described the experience as deeply emotional in a way that words struggled to fully capture. Alex Freeman also revealed something in that post-match interview at Lumen Field in Seattle that elevated the story far beyond football. Lumen Field, the stadium where he had just scored his first World Cup goal, is the same venue where his father, Antonio Freeman, played for the Green Bay Packers in NFL games during his career. Alex Freeman called it a full-circle family moment, a son writing his own chapter of sporting history in the same city where his father had written his. The United States men's national team beat Australia 2-0 at Lumen Field in Seattle on June 19, 2026. They have 6 points from 2 group stage matches and have already secured a place in the knockout rounds of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. They face Turkey in Los Angeles on June 25th in their final group match, with the possibility of winning Group D outright still ahead of them. Mauricio Pochettino, speaking to reporters after the final whistle at Lumen Field in Seattle, was asked directly about the United States winning without Christian Pulisic. The head coach paused before answering. "Pulisic is an amazing player," Pochettino said, "but if you want to win, all the players need to be great." He looked around at the celebration unfolding behind him, his players embracing on the pitch, the crowd still roaring, and let the results speak for everything else. Tyler Adams, the United States captain and midfielder, was more direct in his assessment of what the 2-0 victory over Australia proved. Tyler Adams told reporters at Lumen Field in Seattle that the depth of this squad has never been in doubt inside the dressing room, only outside it. We believe in every single player in this squad, Adams said. Tonight showed why. Nobody knew Alex Freeman's name before June 19, 2026. The world knows Alex Freeman's name now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Can the United States go all the way at this World Cup? And is Alex Freeman the breakout star nobody saw coming? I want to hear both sides.